The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East has undergone profound changes, particularly after the landmark rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran in March 2023, facilitated by China. This historic agreement marked a significant shift in the long-standing rivalry that has shaped the region's politics for decades. Saudi Arabia now finds itself navigating a delicate balancing act, managing its traditional alliance with the United States while forging deeper ties with Iran. The Beijing-mediated agreement, a major diplomatic victory for China, aimed to ease tensions between the two regional powers. As a significant buyer of oil from both nations, China has promoted closer economic and political collaboration, offering Iran critical economic opportunities while helping Saudi Arabia achieve strategic objectives, including diversifying its economy under Vision 2030. One key post-agreement development has been Saudi Arabia's initiative to expand trade with Iran, focusing on sectors like food and medical products that bypass existing sanctions. These efforts may involve private Saudi companies and intermediary nations such as Iraq. In turn, Iran has expressed its ambition to boost trade with Saudi Arabia to $1 billion annually, underscoring the growing economic importance of this partnership. In a dramatic shift, Saudi Arabia has recently decided to abandon its pursuit of a comprehensive defense treaty with the United States, a move that had been previously linked to the normalization of relations with Israel. This decision comes in the wake of ongoing Israeli military operations in Gaza and widespread public outrage across the Middle East. By stepping away from the treaty, Saudi Arabia is signaling a shift in priorities, emphasizing regional solidarity and support for Middle Eastern concerns over alignment with U.S. and Israeli interests. In this video, we explore the intricacies of this pivot, diving into the details of the proposed defense treaty and the reasons behind Saudi Arabia's shift toward supporting regional interests over its traditional Western allies. Understanding the U.S.-Saudi relationship, a historical context. To understand the broader context, it's essential to examine the evolution of the U.S.-Saudi relationship over the years. This alliance, built on shared interests in oil, security, and regional stability, has undergone significant transformations since its inception. Early relations and the discovery of oil. The historical relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia began to take shape after the U.S. officially recognized Saudi Arabia in 1931. In 1940, the two nations established full diplomatic relations with the appointment of the first U.S. ambassador to the kingdom. The discovery of oil in 1938 by Standard Oil of California, now Chevron, transformed Saudi Arabia into a global energy powerhouse, setting the stage for an economic and political partnership. In 1950, the Arabian-American Oil Company, Aramco, and the Saudi government agreed to a 50-50 profit-sharing arrangement, further solidifying their economic ties. World War II and the Quincy Agreement. During World War II, Saudi Arabia's strategic importance to the United States grew due to its vast oil reserves. In 1945, President Franklin D. Roosevelt sought to establish a direct relationship with King Abdulaziz ibn Saud. This historic meeting aboard the USS Quincy in Egypt's Great Bitter Lake led to the Quincy Agreement, which laid the foundation for a strategic partnership between the two nations. The agreement ensured U.S. access to Saudi oil in exchange for military protection and support for Saudi sovereignty. While the leaders disagreed on the future of Palestine and Jewish immigration, their personal rapport set the tone for decades of cooperation that significantly shaped the geopolitical dynamics of the Middle East. The Cold War and beyond. Throughout the Cold War, Saudi Arabia emerged as a critical U.S. ally in countering Soviet influence in the Middle East. The kingdom's vast oil reserves and strategic location made it indispensable in U.S. geopolitical calculations. However, the 1973 oil embargo strained relations as Saudi Arabia imposed an embargo on the U.S. in response to American military support for Israel during the Yom Kippur War. The embargo led to an energy crisis in the U.S., which highlighted America's dependence on foreign oil. The crisis prompted the Nixon administration to reassess its Middle Eastern policies and energy strategies. Despite this strain, the U.S.-Saudi alliance endured, with the embargo lifted in 1974 after negotiations led to Israeli troop withdrawals. This period saw the establishment of the U.S.-Saudi Arabian Joint Commission on Economic Cooperation, further strengthening economic and military ties, including the agreement to price oil in U.S. dollars and invest Saudi oil revenues in U.S. Treasury notes. The Gulf War and U.S. military presence. The 1990 Iraqi invasion of Kuwait marked another pivotal moment in U.S.-Saudi relations. Iraq's aggression posed a direct threat to Saudi Arabia, bringing Iraqi forces near Saudi oil fields. In response, King Fahd requested U.S. military assistance, leading to the deployment of U.S. forces in Operation Desert Shield. This coalition effort culminated in Operation Desert Storm, which liberated Kuwait. Saudi Arabia played a crucial role, providing extensive financial and logistical support for the coalition. The war also led to a long-term U.S. military presence in Saudi Arabia, with approximately 5,000 troops stationed in the kingdom post-conflict to ensure regional stability. September 11, 2001, and its aftermath. The September 11, 2001 attacks, in which 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi nationals, marked a dramatic turning point in the relationship between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. The attacks put immense strain on bilateral ties, leading to heightened scrutiny of Saudi Arabia's role in international terrorism. However, despite these tensions, both nations continued to cooperate in counterterrorism efforts and regional security initiatives, underscoring the complex nature of their relationship. The evolving geopolitical landscape, shaped by both traditional alliances and new regional dynamics, continues to redefine the future of the U.S.-Saudi partnership. As Saudi Arabia navigates these shifting alliances, it faces a complex path, balancing its ties to both the U.S. and emerging powers like China and Iran, while striving to chart an independent course that reflects its national interests and regional priorities. Saudi Arabia and the United States have experienced a dynamic and often complex relationship, especially when it comes to counterterrorism efforts and domestic reforms. Over the years, there have been numerous developments that have strained the partnership, but shared interests in energy, security, and regional stability have largely kept the alliance intact. Initially, relations between the two countries were significantly strained, particularly after the 9/11 attacks, which involved Saudi nationals. This tragic event was a defining moment in the U.S.-Saudi relationship, as it prompted both nations to re-examine their priorities and their approach to fighting terrorism. In response to these events, Saudi Arabia began to intensify its counter-terrorism measures and simultaneously implemented domestic reforms aimed at rebuilding trust with the United States and realigning its strategies with U.S. interests. At the beginning, Saudi authorities were skeptical of the threat posed by al-Qaeda. The then Interior Minister, Prince Nayef bin Abdulaziz, dismissed the notion of bin Laden as a major threat, attributing the terrorist group's growing reputation to U.S. propaganda. He even suggested that the 9/11 attacks could have been part of a Zionist plot. However, this perspective began to shift dramatically after 2003, when al-Qaeda launched a series of attacks within Saudi Arabia itself. These attacks targeted expatriates and Saudi security forces, leading the kingdom to recognize the domestic threat of extremism for the first time. In response to these internal challenges, Saudi Arabia took significant steps toward cooperating more closely with the United States on counter-terrorism initiatives. This marked a pivotal shift in the relationship, as the kingdom acknowledged the necessity of addressing the issue of extremism within its borders. Among the key initiatives was the establishment of the Saudi Care Rehabilitation Center. The center's primary goal is to reintegrate former jihadists back into society. Through religious re-education and psychological counseling, the program seeks to counter extremist ideologies and foster a more moderate outlook. By 2017, the center had reportedly treated over 300 individuals, with an impressive success rate of 86%, as measured by the absence of recidivism over a decade. In addition to this counterterrorism program, Saudi Arabia undertook broad domestic reforms designed to address the root causes of extremism and promote a more moderate society. Among the most notable changes were the curbing of the powers of the religious police, the revision of educational materials that had previously promoted intolerance, and the granting of more freedoms to women, such as the right to drive. These reforms were part of a broader effort to modernize Saudi society and reduce the appeal of extremist ideologies that had once found fertile ground within the kingdom. Despite these efforts, recent developments have once again tested U.S.-Saudi relations. Tensions have arisen over a number of issues, most notably the ongoing conflict in Yemen and the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. In Yemen, Saudi Arabia has led a coalition against Houthi rebels, with significant U.S. support in the form of arms sales and logistical assistance. However, the conflict has resulted in a severe humanitarian crisis, with numerous reports of civilian casualties from Saudi airstrikes. These reports have prompted increasing criticism in the U.S. and calls for a reassessment of military support for Saudi operations. In 2019, the U.S. Congress voted to end military assistance to Saudi Arabia for its operations in Yemen, but President Trump vetoed the resolution, citing the importance of the U.S.-Saudi relationship. Despite these ongoing tensions, military sales between the two countries have continued. In 2017, for example, the U.S. announced a substantial arms deal with Saudi Arabia, valued at approximately $110 billion. While some of these deals were temporarily paused due to human rights concerns, the Biden administration lifted restrictions on the sale of offensive weapons to Saudi Arabia in August 2024, resuming shipments of precision-guided munitions. Despite these challenges, the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia remains grounded in shared strategic interests, particularly in energy and regional security. Saudi Arabia continues to be a key supplier of oil to global markets, and both nations cooperate closely on counterterrorism initiatives and efforts to counter Iranian influence in the Middle East. These priorities have often outweighed the bilateral tensions, enabling the relationship to persist despite challenges. The resilience of U.S.-Saudi relations underscores the importance of their long-standing partnership, despite the challenges that have surfaced over the years. While political and humanitarian concerns may continue to complicate the alliance, the strategic and economic factors that bind these two nations remain strong. The future of this relationship will likely depend on how both countries navigate their differences while continuing to collaborate on issues of mutual concern, including regional security and the global energy market. In recent years, Saudi Arabia and Iran have taken bold and significant steps toward enhancing their bilateral relations, with a focus on joint military exercises, diplomatic engagement, and economic cooperation. This strategic shift toward pragmatic collaboration is rooted in a shared interest in addressing pressing regional challenges, balancing domestic priorities, and navigating the complex geopolitics of the Middle East. The transformation in their relationship is a significant departure from the long-standing political and ideological rivalries that have historically defined their interactions. One of the most notable milestones in the Saudi-Iranian rapprochement occurred in October 2024, when the two nations conducted their first-ever joint naval exercises in the Sea of Oman. This event marked a historic turning point in their military cooperation, and was seen as a powerful symbol of their commitment to reducing tensions and enhancing regional security. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Defense spokesman, Brigadier General Turki al-Mali, publicly confirmed the success of these exercises, which underscored the growing military ties between the two countries. Furthermore, plans are already in place for further joint military drills, particularly in the Red Sea, signaling that the Saudi-Iranian military cooperation is far from a one-off event. Iranian Navy Commander Admiral Shahram Irani confirmed that Saudi Arabia had formally requested these exercises, demonstrating a willingness to coordinate on military matters in a way that was previously unthinkable. In addition to military cooperation, diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran have experienced a notable resurgence. A key moment came in November 2024 when Saudi Arabia's Chief of Staff, Fiyad al-Ruh, visited Tehran for discussions with his Iranian counterpart, Major General Mohammad Bagheri. This rare high-level meeting was significant because it represented a concerted effort to deepen defense diplomacy and explore new avenues for bilateral cooperation. Both nations recognized the importance of dialogue in addressing regional security concerns and strengthening mutual ties. This diplomatic visit followed an earlier announcement in April 2023 by the Iranian Foreign Ministry that high-level visits between Tehran and Riyadh would take place with the aim of fully restoring bilateral ties. These diplomatic efforts are part of a broader strategy to reduce tensions and explore areas of mutual interest, from military coordination to economic collaboration. The developments in military and diplomatic relations are part of a broader strategy by both Saudi Arabia and Iran to address shared security concerns and foster regional stability. In particular, both countries are deeply invested in ensuring the security of their maritime trade routes, which are vital for their economies and global trade. By engaging in joint military exercises, Saudi Arabia and Iran are not only enhancing their respective defense capabilities, but also sending a clear message that they are committed to working together for the security of the region. The Sea of Oman, where their naval exercises took place, is a key strategic waterway, and ensuring its stability is critical for both nations, as well as for global trade. Moreover, this pragmatic approach to security and cooperation is being driven by the changing dynamics within the Middle East. The region has long been marred by conflicts, political rivalries, and external interventions. But Saudi Arabia and Iran are now looking for ways to navigate this complex environment by focusing on their shared interests. Their joint military exercises and diplomatic exchanges suggest a recognition that cooperation is essential for ensuring regional stability and preventing further escalation of tensions that could destabilize the region. The evolving relationship between Saudi Arabia and Iran represents a turning point in Middle Eastern geopolitics. Historically, these two nations have been rivals, deeply entrenched in political, ideological, and sectarian conflicts. However, as both countries shift their focus toward pragmatic cooperation, the potential for stability and prosperity in the region grows. The restoration of diplomatic ties in 2023, combined with the resumption of people-to-people exchanges, such as renewed flights in 2024, signals a genuine commitment to overcoming past animosities. The joint military exercises and ongoing high-level diplomatic dialogues demonstrate that both countries are willing to engage in practical cooperation, driven by shared economic and security concerns. Nevertheless, the road to a lasting partnership will not be without challenges. Deep-seated mistrust between the two nations, unresolved legacy conflicts, and the influence of external powers, particularly the United States and its allies, continue to pose significant obstacles to a durable relationship. Sensitive incidents, such as diplomatic expulsions or flare-ups in regional conflicts, could undermine the progress made so far and halt the momentum of rapprochement. Both Saudi Arabia and Iran will need to demonstrate resilience, patience, and a commitment to resolving conflicts peacefully if they are to build a truly lasting partnership. Looking ahead, the potential for a Saudi-Iranian partnership offers a promising yet fragile opportunity to reshape the dynamics of the Middle East. If both nations continue to prioritize pragmatic collaboration over ideological differences, there is hope that they can contribute to a more stable, peaceful, and prosperous future for the region. Achieving this will require not only effective diplomatic and military cooperation, but also the ability to build trust, manage internal political challenges, and navigate external pressures. If successful, this evolving relationship could serve as a model for conflict resolution and cooperative engagement in one of the world's most geopolitically complex regions. As the Saudi-Iranian relationship continues to develop, the entire Middle East will be watching closely. The potential benefits of a stable and cooperative relationship between these two major regional powers are immense. In the coming years, the outcome of this rapprochement could profoundly influence the future of the region and the broader global geopolitical landscape. Thank you for taking the time to explore this important topic with us. We sincerely appreciate your interest in this discussion. If you found this video insightful or thought-provoking, please consider liking it and subscribing to stay connected with our community. Your support is invaluable, and we look forward to sharing more content with you in the future. You can also explore more of our videos, which are now on the screen.